That's right, guys. I spoke to an official at Anchor Point in Del Barton, and he says, quote, "We're drowning in the state of West Virginia." Anchor Point is a women's and men's drug rehabilitation center. Warren says the person selling the drugs is just as sick as the person they're selling them to. Reporting in the newsroom, Megan Carr, 59 News. Good morning, I'm Megan Carr. We have an update on the state trooper that was shot this morning in Lincoln County while responding to a domestic violence call. The trooper, who has not been identified yet, is undergoing surgery right now at CAMC General. Right around this corner, the American Red Cross is already starting to set up because we're actually starting the blood drive in about 20 or so minutes. And as you guys know, we've talked about for several days, the U.S. is bracing for another massive storm. Hurricane Irma is barreling toward the Florida coast, but we're still recovering from Hurricane Harvey, and a lot of the blood banks across the nation were depleted because of Harvey. They just sent a lot of blood to Texas, and because of that, the American Red Cross is trying to replenish their blood banks in order to get ahead of Hurricane Irma. Hey guys, I sure am in the middle of all the action. I'm here at the sold-out Hunks and Heels event. It's at the Beckley Moose Lodge. It actually just began a few minutes ago, and I'm going to step aside because, again, you need to see all of this action. People are actually still coming through. It started about 6 o'clock. I do want to add again that all the money raised here tonight goes to the Women's Resource Center to help them to continue to combat domestic violence. Yeah, the last number I saw was 550 people injured. It started about 100, then went to 200. Then to 400, and now over 500. And you can imagine the death toll is only going to continue to rise. Yeah, and what's interesting about that story is they say they actually found him because the smoke alarms went off because of all the smoke from his guns. 4 football players for the University of Charleston were arrested last night on felony heroin charges. Charleston police say that the station received a call of a suspicious car at the Motel 6 in Charleston. An unsolved murder case was the focus of a press conference hosted by family members and prosecutors at the Mercer County Courthouse yesterday. Now they're looking for clues in the murder of David Hazelwood and Kathy Jo Vance. All right, you know how much I love coffee. Let's all take a sip together real quick. But talk about a buzzkill. Your morning cup of coffee may get more expensive. Mary Maloney has more on our favorite morning beverage. Southern West Virginia, high mountains, deep valleys, and coal fields. An entire culture has been built on this little black rock. Let's go back a few months to the 2016 presidential election. According to CNN exit polls, President Donald Trump won West Virginia with around 69% of the vote. You could say this is Trump country. These guys would say you're right. Both coal miners, one who enjoyed a long career in the mines as a coal miner and later as a federal mine inspector.
And I've had a lot coal operators has come to my house whenever I was injured and would tell me that they appreciated it when I come around. And, you know.
You were doing your job, huh?
Yeah, doing my job.
One still unemployed. We talked with Keith Bailey a few weeks ago. He was interviewing for a coal mining job. Now he says he didn't get it, and after being laid off from the mines for several years, all he wants is to get back, to do the work his grandfather and father did.
When you go underground, it's like nothing else, and so I mean, it's really in your blood.
These men, like so many other coal miners, are jumping on the Trump wagon and hoping he delivers.
I just hope that he sticks to his guns.
My dad would probably turn over in his grave if he knew I voted Republican ticket.
Mullins has been a mine inspector most of his life, and he says there was a time when coal miners were revered, but now they're shunned.
The coal miners have just been looked down on so long, and you know, even when I worked in the coal mine, we had college graduates running equipment in the coal mine, and people couldn't believe that, but it's true. There's not a bunch of, they call them hillbillies.
Members of the coal industry say something shifted during this presidential campaign.
Coal miners.
Miners. Coal industry. Coal miners and coal companies.
Those who once felt ignored are now in the spotlight. I spoke with the president of the West Virginia Coal Association, and he says now when he sees coal mines or coal loading zones like you see here, he no longer sees despair. He sees hope.
You heard Trump talk about the coal miners and how important they were and how important the coal industry was, and he was going to put them back to work. We hadn't heard that in 8 years.
According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, which is part of the Department of Energy, coal production has declined in the Appalachian region by 53% since 2008. Production is expected to increase most in the western region, but the energy outlook in our region looks bleak.
And we're seeing an increase in electricity demand. We think when President Trump does what he said he was going to do with infrastructure in this country, building it with American steel, building it with American concrete and cement, all of which require coal.
Rainey also says coal production in the Appalachian region will rebound if current policies are changed. He wants the Clean Power Plan reversed.
You go to Logan and Boone and Mingo County and McDowell County and look at the devastation that's been brought by the negative policies, then I don't think that scale balances at all. So I think there's got to be a very deep, wide conversation about this climate change. How much control do you need?
With Trump in office, many Appalachians see a light at the end of the tunnel.
I hope with President Trump in there and Justice that things is going to be different. And just like my friend right here, he needs to be back in the coal mine. He's like me, he likes coal mining.
Only time will tell if West Virginia can rise from the ashes. Reporting in southern West Virginia, Megan Carr, 59 News.
My name is Jessica.
Meet Jessica Grubb, a beautiful, smart, athletic activist. She believed that no matter who you were, you could make a difference in the world.
Let a student sort of walk out of school. The end result was in protest of the war, and the end result was that she was suspended for 3 days, and along with several other students. For me, it was a pretty proud moment.
All the potential in the world. So how did this young, vibrant girl die of an overdose? It all started with a traumatic event.
She went to University of North Carolina in Asheville, and the first semester, really early on in the first semester, she was raped while she was in college. And we didn't even know about this until years and years later. We could tell something was different about Jessie. She had kind of lost her, I don't know, enthusiasm, her self-confidence.
Jessie would return home to Charleston, but her life would take another tragic turn.
And she met a friend, and he introduced her to heroin.
Jessie would use heroin as an escape for several years until a life-or-death moment last August.
Jessie overdosed at our home in her bedroom. And that was probably, up until what happened recently, the most traumatic thing that had ever happened in our lives. And she had, I mean, for all intents and purposes, she was dead then in August.
Jessie went to rehab in Michigan. She worked through her addiction and was sober for almost 8 months. But addiction reared its ugly head once again. Jessie was a runner. She loved running, but a recurring injury in her hip required surgery. Jessie and her parents told the orthopedic surgeon about her addiction, but the discharge doctor wasn't told. Jessie was sent home with 15 oxycodone pills. She overdosed on 8. Now, David said when Jessie was abusing heroin, 8 oxycodone pills wouldn't have killed her, but she wasn't using. She was sober.
Out of just desperation, because we weren't getting a response, we called the police, and the detective eventually talked to my wife and said, "I hate to inform you, but your daughter's passed." And that was just devastating.
Right. What did you guys do?
What we did was cried a lot. That's about all you can do. And there's a while when you just can't believe that it's real.
Jessica won't be just another statistic. Her father won't let her. He wrote an open and powerful obituary in the Charleston Gazette. Even before her death, he was outspoken about her addiction, speaking at the town hall event when President Obama came to town. Her story touched President Obama so much he found the Grubbs after the meeting. Obama wouldn't forget Jessie or the Grubbs. After Jessie died, the Grubbs received a handwritten letter from the president himself.
More touching and more sincere, and I think indicated to us just what an impact Jessie's story had on him.
Senator Joe Manchin has spoken on several occasions about Jessica and the Grubb family. He announced just last week a new piece of legislation named Jessie's Law that would give medical professionals full knowledge of any past problems patients may have had with opioid abuse. given their consent.
We're going to make sure, Senator Capito is working with me, we're going to make sure as a bipartisan effort that Jesse's law becomes law of the land.
Jessie was sober for over 6 months. She was going to vote for Bernie Sanders in the election. She was training for a marathon. She had plans. Reporting in southern West Virginia, Megan Carr, 59 News. A warrant was executed at Black River Coal in Bandy, Virginia, after Jim Justice failed to pay property taxes that were due in December for the 2015 taxes. Reporting in southern West Virginia, Megan Carr, Tonight Live. The election is November 8th, and both of those candidates say they will continue to campaign until the voters head to the polls. Reporting in Charleston, Megan Carr, 59 News.
All right, some good news. Yeah, nice stretch of weather for us.
Yeah, we'll take the warmth. We don't have to deal with snow, don't have to deal with ice. Definitely makes traveling much better.
Commute to work's a lot easier.
A lot easier.
Breaking news out of McDowell County this morning. McDowell County sheriffs confirmed that a man has died at a coal preparation plant in the Bishop area. 59 News reporter Shannon Clow is live in Beckley, where a tree knocked down a power line and closed a road. So Shannon, any progress out there right now? A house fire nearly takes the life of a woman in Mercer County. The trial for a man accused of using a chemical weapon while trying to rob a pharmacy has been postponed. I can tell you Fayette County Sheriff's deputies say human remains have been found in the Kanawha Falls area near Gully Bridge. Before we continue with our winter weather coverage, we do have an update on the Amber Alert issued Wednesday night in Beckley. The town of Rodell is in need of a new city hall now after it was destroyed in a fire this morning. Firefighters say they were sent to the fire around 5:30. 59 News reporter Joe Petrello just got back from the scene, and he joins us now live in the newsroom with more. Hey, Joe.
I had to make sure I had the hat and the scarf and the gloves and everything. My hands were freezing when I was trying to scrape all that ice off my car. So not only are you going to have to deal with snow, but you're going to have to deal with ice as well. I see a lot of salt trucks out there, not just on the highways, but also on the back roads. So hopefully they'll get some of that snow cleared off the roads this morning. Before I get to this next story, I got to ask you, 6 more weeks of winter because it's coming up, or early spring?
Tough to say. I'm going to say probably closer to the winter side. Unfortunately. I know. Bearer of bad news.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to say early spring, and I'm going to knock on wood, so hopefully I won't jinx this. The inaugural ball is in full swing tonight as people gather to celebrate Governor Jim Justice's transition to power. Our own Tim Carrico and Jessica Schuler are standing by at the Greenbrier with the latest from the ball.